Have you ever felt the constant worry of not enough? That's a struggle with scarcity. But what about the anxiety of having too much? The feeling that your life is overflowing with stuff, but you're still not fulfilled? That's the trap of abundance without purpose. We often think that if we can just get from an empty place to a full place, then our problems will be solved. But the truth is, both of those states can be spiritual dead ends. Today, in the final episode of the That's on God series, we're going to be talking about a third way, living a life beyond scarcity and abundance by focusing on God's purpose. I'm Lo, and you're watching Lo and Behold. Lo and Behold is a podcast where we are empowering worship leaders and creatives to lead with biblical wisdom, practical skill, and vibrant spiritual life. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. I grew up in poverty in the inner city of Detroit, and I remember many times growing up just always having the feeling of not enough. And maybe some of you may have felt that as well. You always feel like there's more months than the money. There's not enough money to go around. It's either you eat or you buy medicine. It's either you play sports or you take a vacation or neither. You focus on the basic needs, and there's still not enough money to take care of your basic needs, let alone your wants. I grew up in that kind of environment, and so I learned how to live with the mindset of scarcity. There is never enough. There may never be enough. Even when we get something, it may not last as long as we want it to last. And so growing up, I had that mindset. I learned to live with that mindset. And when I moved out of my mama's house, after I graduated college, I was living with that mindset that here it is, as old as I am now, in my 20s, early 20s then, after graduated college, I still don't have enough. I still don't know where the next is coming from. And then I got a good job. Good job only in the aspect that I was making more money than I ever had made at that time and that I needed. I was already living below my means at the time. And then I got a new job and I'm making double the amount of money that I was making, and I'm salaried. And of course, I go crazy, right? I start spending money on things that I don't have no receipts for, let alone the item that I purchased. I mean, Amazon packages was just coming to the door every day. Buying shoes. I bought a lot of shoes. Okay. Especially before I was married, I bought a lot of shoes, and it was just me buying shoes just to have them, and then buying clothes. I went and bought a car, of course. And then I went and bought accessories. I was giving to people. When it came to gift giving, I was one of the best in that I just gave you money. I'm still not good at going out and finding anything to buy for you physically. I'm very good at just giving you money. And people's birthday would come and I would just give money. I would just always be paying money. I was always eating out, probably never really bought groceries, always going out to eat. Every meal that I got cost no less than about $30 or $40. And it was just me just having money to blow, and blow I did to that money. So I started to live, because of that job, I started to live with the mindset of abundance. There will always be more. There will always be the next. And that leads me up until the time I get married. My wife and I, we struggled with something at the beginning of our marriage, and really still even now, a year in, that I'm sure a lot of couples struggle with. And that is the big one: money. By the time we got married, I'm living with an abundance mindset. My wife, love you, honey, is living with a scarcity mindset. There will never be enough for her, and there will always be another dollar coming in. There will always be another opportunity to buy, to get, to gain, to obtain money in the future. So both of our mindsets were just obviously not working together. Her always wanted to save that penny and not spend it on big things or small things for that matter. And me saying, this is a penny that is wasted already, and we will always make this back up. There's always a case for this. Both of those mindsets are not good. Right? Let's just admit it. Both of those mindsets are not good. Living with a mindset of scarcity means that you are always fearful of making the next decision. And I know, because I live with a mindset of scarcity. You're always afraid of something new. You're always afraid of the next decision because you are terrified that you will not have enough. And the thing is, even when I was living with the scarcity mindset, I never had enough. Living with a scarcity mindset didn't mean that I had more. Living with a scarcity mindset didn't mean that I saved more. It just meant I just didn't have enough. So at the end of the month, I was in the same place that I was fearful of anyway. And then living with an abundance mindset, or the feeling or the mindset that you will always have more, there'll always be another opportunity to get more. I started to be careless with my finances. I started to just buy things because I wanted them and not because I needed them. And I didn't care about what the price was. I didn't concern myself with interest rates. And this is crazy because I'm literally an accountant. I do that as a full-time job now, but I didn't concern myself with any of that kind of jargon. If it fit, if it was enough for me to pay for within the next paycheck or within the next two paychecks at the end of the month, then it was something that I happily agreed and went on to. And so my credit cards had 23% interest, 25% interest. My auto loan, 25% interest. Whereas my wife, barely interest, if you ask me, on her credit card, and then no auto loan. And so needless to say, it's been an interesting time trying to put our finances together, manage our finances together, because we have two different mindsets when it comes to money. Now, though, at this point in my life and at this point in our marriage, my mind is changing. My mind is shifting, but not from a scarcity or not from an abundance mindset to a scarcity mindset. And I'm not trying to transition between either of the two, but I'm now thinking of money differently. I'm now thinking of resources differently. I'm thinking of resources in terms of purpose. When we live from a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset, the core problem is simply the same. And that is, we are trying to fill the bucket. If we think of the bucket as being our resources, we're trying to fill that bucket on our own terms for our own wishes, for our own plans, for our own dreams. Whether it's you are living from a scarcity mindset because you want something in particular and you never feel like you'll have enough money to obtain, or you're living from a mindset of abundance where you're just spending more. You always think that you'll be able to get more, and you are trying to get things, or at least not lose things that suit you, that best fit whatever lifestyle that you're trying to live, or whoever you're trying to show off in front of. Either way, the core problem is the same, where you are living not according to God's plan and his will for your life, but you are living according to your own terms. And when we live according to our own terms, that's where we always fall short. Because even when you have a plan for that money, we call it a budget, you have no purpose behind that money. And so if your plans do not align with your purpose, there is no reason to get more money from God. There is no reason for God to continue to fill your resource bucket and you're actually not using it for his purpose. And I'm going to touch on that in just a little bit, but I want to take us to scripture. And this is a scripture that we have talked about already so far in this series, but I want to double down upon here and bring a new perspective to it. Matthew 6:33, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. As you all know, I like to break it down. I like to go step by step because I really like to put the Bible in context. I like to put what's being said in context so I can figure out how to apply it to my own life. And that's what we're going to do here. Seek first his kingdom. Now, first of all, who's speaking? Jesus is speaking. Jesus is speaking to his disciples. This is called the Sermon on the Mount. You probably heard of it before, where Jesus is giving direction. He's giving guidance. He's giving a lot of advice, and he's telling a lot of truths here that we can still apply to our lives today. But he's telling the disciples who worried about the meeting of their basic needs. Jesus is saying, seek first his kingdom. Whose kingdom? God's kingdom. God's kingdom. Seek first God's kingdom. Jesus is giving us the ultimate redirection, if you will. Instead of worrying about our empty bucket, our bucket of scarcity, or our full bucket that may be a little leaking, or that bucket of abundance, Jesus tells us to reorient our entire lives around a singular focus. And that is simply God's kingdom. What are you doing with your resources in order to build God's kingdom. And your resources aren't just financial, by the way. Your resources are also your time. Your resources are also your gifts and your talents. Your resources are the people around you, your network. Your resources are the home or the place that you live, the car that you drive. Your resources are everything that you use in order to be you, to do the things that you do, to go the places that you go, to have the time that you have. Your resources encompasses all of that. Jesus, though, is switching our focus off of those resources, off of our own problems, off of our own direction, our will, our desires. And he's saying, focus on God's kingdom. Seek first his kingdom, because this is God's purpose for you. Yes. Yes. Now that was kind of hard to admit, at least for me. God's purpose for you is to build his kingdom. God's purpose for you is to bring glory to his name. And so when Jesus is reorienting our focus, he's saying this is God's purpose, his will and his way. It's about becoming a conduit to God's will, to God's power, or a channel and not a container. You're not existing in order to hold on to what God is giving away just so you can say, I got it. I can't stand people who just they ask God, or they want us to shout about the fact that they got a new house. Okay, you got a new house for what? I mean, what's the plan? Can you come with me? I want to shout because I got $1 million. No, don't get me wrong. $1 million is nice, but why? What is the purpose behind that? And I'm not saying that you cannot make $1 million on your own. You can most certainly do that using your time and your talent and your ambition and your will. Most certainly you can make $1 million. I believe it. But if you want God to give you $1 million, for what? What's the point? What's the purpose? God is saying that your life, your resources is for his purpose. It's for his kingdom. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. Now, this isn't about our own perfection. It's about aligning our lives with God's character and his divine order. When we stop trying to live by our own rules and instead submit to his, we find that our lives fall into a rhythm of blessing and provision. I had to write that down because I wanted to make sure that I said that to you word for word, because that was so good when I was studying and preparing for this. That was so good that I had to write it down and I had to tell you word for word. It's not about our own perfection. It's about aligning our lives with God's character and his divine order. Now, and his righteousness. I told you that righteousness means right standing. It means relationship with God. So seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, his justification, his reasoning, his will, his way, his desires for your life, his plan. What is the reason why you are here? What is the reason you are created? That's what you should be focused on. And all these things, the and is important. Okay, y'all like how I do that and I do my preachers and I like to do my preachers and right there. And all these things will be given to you as well. That's also important. And that word, and this is a promise. It's not maybe these things will be given to you as well. There's a possibility that these things could be given to you as well. Jesus here in this part of the scripture, he's not tapping his pockets 3 times. And we know what we know what that means. I always say if they tap their pocket 3 times, they ain't got it. They ain't got it. Jesus is not tapping his pocket 3 times. He said, no, I got it. And it will be given to you as well. When you seek first the kingdom and righteousness, these things will be given to you as well, in addition to. When you hear as well, that means in addition to seeking first his kingdom and his righteousness and getting your needs taken care of. These things, what are these things? Your basic necessities, the resources that you need in order to fulfill God's purpose will be given to you as well. I'll give you everything that you need. I'll give you 100% of what you, matter of fact, I'll throw in extra. I'll still tip. I'll throw in extra. I'll give you abundantly, exceedingly, and above and beyond all that you can ask, think, or imagine. I got you. All you need to do is seek first my kingdom and my righteousness, and I will give this to you as well. I feel like preaching already. God's provision isn't just about fulfilling your needs. It's a side effect of living in his purpose. He will provide for us because his purposes are more important than our anxieties or our material wants. I like that. I had to write that down too so I can make sure that I tell you. His purpose is more important than your anxieties. Which is essentially saying God is so God. He's so God about his business. He said, I'm not going to let you fail, not because I want you to succeed, not just because I want you to succeed, and I do. I'm not going to let you fail because I don't. That's just it. I'm not going to let you fail, not just because I want to exalt you. I'm not going to let you fail because my name is backing you up. In finance, there's this old cliche about multi-million dollar, billion-dollar companies, right? If you look at multi-billion-dollar companies, they always have debt on their balance sheet. They're always leveraged somewhere, and they're always in debt to someone, somewhere, some other company or some other government. They just have all of this debt. And you may be asking, they made billions of dollars last year. Why do they have debt up on their balance sheet? I thought the main purpose was to take that money and pay off debt. But what I learned after asking these kind of questions myself, why do they have debt, right? I learned from a finance bro, basically, who's in the industry, who's in the private equity industry. He said it's simple because when you are leveraged, when you owe people money, when you owe other people money, they'll make sure to do whatever is necessary to see you succeed because they want their money back. I said, so you mean to tell me these people will lend to this company and that company will simply have that debt, and that company has that debt because they know you, with your money on the line, you will do whatever it is that's necessary in order to make sure you get your money back. You'll make sure that they succeed. That was an eye opener to me. And I feel like sometimes, and I don't want to use that kind of I don't want to use that kind of analogy when it comes to God, because I think God is just much bigger. He's unexplainable. But if I could explain it in a way that I can understand it, it would be just that. God is so leveraged for you that he gonna make sure you succeed. Because at the end of the day, your success is his success. He said, I am so invested in you that I'm going to make sure you make it. I'm going to make sure you come through. I'm going to make sure that all things work together for your good, even when it don't look like it's making it. Even when it don't look like it's working, even when you cannot feel that I'm on your behalf or that I'm working on your behalf, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to make sure you succeed, because my name is tied to what it is that you produce. My face is tied to whatever it is that you walk into. I'm going to provide you the resources, not just because I want you to be on the up and up, but because I said I would. My word means more to me than your success, and your success means a lot. My word shall be made whole. I look after my word, making sure that it accomplishes whatever I sent it to do. So shall my word go forth, and it shall not return unto me void. Isaiah 55:11 says, that ain't even in the notes. All you got to do is seek first my kingdom and my righteousness, and I'll make sure everything is taken care of. That's somehow hard to believe for us. Even me. That's somehow hard to believe, because in our Western individualistic society, we are taught that it is up to us to make the difference. We are taught that it is all our fault. And so it's hard to think that all I got to do is sit back and work for God, and God will take care of everything else. My pastor used to say it like this: if you take care of God's house, God will take care of your house. That was so hard to believe. I think that's where Jesus is flipping the script up on his head. Jesus is changing your outlook and your perspective upon this. What you're saying is it's important that I do what I got to do in order to take care of my business. And Jesus is simply saying, when my house becomes your business, then your business becomes my business. When you take care of me and when you seek first my kingdom and my righteousness, whatever it is that is on your shoulders will be under your feet. It's my responsibility. It's my business now. It is my will. It is my way. Whenever you are doing things for me, my pastor used to also say it like this: if it's God's will, it's God's bill. When you are acting in accordance with what God designed and purposed for you to do and to be, God will make sure everything else is taken care of. Change your perspective. He's reinforcing this message in 2 Corinthians, the 9th chapter, the 8th verse. He says, and God is able to bless you abundantly. Wait, because we tend to shout right there. And that's what be our problem. That's what be our problem. No, that's my problem. I shout too early. People start talking and preaching in church, and then I shout too early. And God is able to bless you abundantly, wait, comma, so that in all things at all times, don't shout yet, having all that you need, comma, don't shout yet, you will abound in every good work. Wait a minute. That's what Paul said. I just thought I'd let that sit so we can process that, because that's not what I said. I was waiting to shout on the God is able to bless me abundantly part. And then I was ready to shout so that in all things at all times, all things at all times, God blessing me abundantly. What Ken Jones say? A blessing get ready to bust you upside your head. I see a window over your head. That's what Ken Jones says. Having all that you need. Oh, and he will supply every one of my needs. Oh, yes, he will. But wait a minute. So you will abound in every good work. You mean I got to work? Oh, hold on. This verse is a beautiful picture of a purpose-driven life. It doesn't promise endless wealth. That's not what it's saying. Because when I stopped reading before we got to the you will abound in every good work, I thought that the Lord was promising me endless wealth. That's what it sounded like to me. Yeah. No, I thought that this was me living with the mindset of abundance because my reality is in abundance. But listen, this promises an abundant supply for every good work. So we aren't blessed just to be blessed. God is not interested in increasing your resources just so you can go out and say, I have resources. No, we are blessed to be a blessing. And our abundance, what you have, is a tool for God's purpose. Proverbs 11:24. One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. This verse challenges the scarcity mindset, I tell you that. Because it seems counterintuitive to be given when I feel like I ain't got. How can I give you what I ain't got? So it doesn't feel right to be paying tithes when I don't have enough for rent. It don't feel like it makes any sense to be giving an offering when I don't feel like I have enough for food. It doesn't make sense to be helping somebody who is homeless or somebody who is addicted to drugs, or it doesn't make sense to be helping you find a job when I hate mine. That's counterintuitive. But Proverbs said one person gives freely. It tells us that true abundance is not found in holding on, but in letting go. When we freely give to God's purpose, he multiplies our resources and fills us in return. Why? Because God will never let you go on E, like some of y'all cars. I'm just stepping on people's toes today. Let me get on up off of here. I'm going to get off Beyonce's internet. God will never let you go on empty. But every time you are giving out for God's purpose, every time that you are walking in God's plan and his will for your life, every time you lose something, God gives you something in return. Just like the Israelites in the wilderness, he gave them fresh manna and he said, don't save any of this for tomorrow. It is spoiled. I'm so God, I'll make sure I will provide for you every step of the way. Every single day, I will give you what you need every single day. I'm so attentive to you. I am so invested in you. I like to think of it like this. I trade a lot of stocks and I trade a lot of crypto. And so I just be at my computer and I just be watching, right? My eyes be peeled. That's why they be so dry, because my eyes just be staying open. I'm just watching. I'm watching it go up or go down and I'm analyzing. Okay, I got two. Okay, this stock may go up. Okay, let me put that call option in and put that put option in. So I just be watching it and I'm so invested. I'm so looking at that screen. You would think I'm watching like Netflix or something. I'm so looking at the screen that my eyes are glued and I'm attentive to everything that's going on. There's a CEO of a crypto firm and I bought some of those coins probably a year ago. Anyways, he was testifying before Congress and I'm listening to his testimony. And the whole time I'm looking at the chart. I'm saying, okay, let me see. I don't know, because he getting a little rough. He might slip up. It might be time to sell. I'm at where everybody like, Lawrence, I thought you was on lunch. No. I got to watch this because I got to see what's going on. I own too much of this. I'm too invested. I got too much of a stake in this to have something happen that I don't know about. And so I don't want to know once it already happened. I want to see and I want to hear in real time what's happening so I can make a decision on whether or not to double down on what I've given or to immediately withdraw. I got good news for you. God is not interested in withdrawing anything that he gave you. The Bible says that the gifts of God are without repentance. God is interested in doubling down, but there is no reason to double down if you are already full. If you already buried it, if you've already got it in it, what do you need more for if you don't have a bigger purpose? If you're not carrying out God's plan anyway? God is so invested in you that he's looking, okay, where is the lack? Because I need to make sure that there is no lack in your life because my name is tied to it. I am the creditor. I am the guarantor of whatever it is that you need. And I need to make sure that your life does not have lack. Let me make sure that the resources that they need in order to carry out my purpose, that they have. That's what God is interested in doing for you. And you know what? One of the ways to identify your purpose is to think about and examine and analyze what hurts your heart. Yeah, what makes you feel bad? You know, if homelessness makes you feel bad, maybe your purpose could be finding people housing, if that's what your skill is in. What is your talent? Match that gift with what hurts you. What are you passionate about? And what gifts has God given you that you can use for his kingdom? And then number 2, give freely. It's counterintuitive. It don't make any sense. And I'm not saying that you have to be given to one church or one pastor or anything of that sort. So all you online talking heads, don't come for me, because this is not a please give to the church kind of message. But what this is that you have to have the heart of giving in order to receive. That's just a simple. Money is a currency. And we're always trying to get, we're never trying to give. How is it possible? That ain't just what I said. Who's the singer that said, it takes money to make money, can't let it get away from me. So if you see me in the streets, it's the only way I eat. If you love me, then pray for me. That's a secular song. It takes money to make money. In order to receive, you got to be in a place where you are willing to give. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you will get whatever it is that you have given. It doesn't mean that, but you're okay with that. You're okay with that because you give Netflix your money. They give you entertainment. They don't give you money back. No, you give your auto loan, that bank, you give them your money. They give you a car. Cash. You give out cash all the time without any expectation that you will receive cash in return. So you actually don't have a problem with giving freely. You just have a problem with giving in a manner where you don't feel like you are getting something back that helps you personally, that does you any favors. You got to get over that. You got to be willing to give freely, give your time, give your money, give your energy. Come as a conduit for God's generosity, and you will experience his unending flow in your own life. Third, live as a conduit, not a container. I was talking to one of my friends the other day about this. Change your mindset. Stop thinking, how can I get more? And start thinking, how can I be a channel for God's purpose? Fill me up till I overflow. I want to run over. Why? Why? Fill me up till I overflow. Listen, I want God to fill me up to our overflow, and I want to continue to give out. Yes, continue to fill me. And out of my overflow, God, I will give out of that overflow. But there is no reason to continue to pour water in a full container. I'm just saying. Number 4, live from his will, not your worries. Make decisions based on God's will, not your worries. Step out in faith to pursue a dream, start a ministry, or serve in your community, knowing that if it's his purpose, he will provide the resources, the energy, and the passion. Just as a personal anecdote, that's what this podcast is for me. That's what it is. This is me pursuing a dream. This is also me starting a ministry, one that I never thought that I would start. If I'm being completely honest with you, I was more than willing and happy to do the audio podcast, and that was successful when I did it. It wasn't about God necessarily, but it was pretty successful. And then God was really challenging me. He was really giving me this assignment, this podcasting assignment. And he provided the resources. He gave me everything that I needed in order to do it. And every single time, especially even through all of my recordings of the podcast so far, every time where I was missing a cord broke, I needed a light, I needed this or that and the other. I was just looking through my bin of things. We all have a bin of things, right? I was looking through my bin of things for studio, and I had exactly what I needed that I had bought and didn't know what to do with when I bought it. Just bought it. Or it was given to me. Years ago, when I was telling a few people that I wanted to start a video podcast, 2-3 years ago, they would just give me things. Oh, we got this stand. We don't know what to do with it anymore, but we got a new one. So here, you can have this. And I just folded it up, put it in the closet. Didn't actually do anything with it. I'm just saying, why would God give you more? And you're not actually using what he gave you for his glory in the first place. And now that I am using what God gave me, the resources that God gave me for his glory, what I am seeing is a reimbursement, a replenishment of everything that I am pouring out. God is just putting people in my life. He's putting resources in my life to replace everything that I am giving. Most importantly, himself to me. As I am giving out, as I am giving to other people, as I'm allowed God to use me to speak into other people's life, God is speaking into my life. I told God at the start of this, God, I don't want to do this if I don't have a relationship with you. That's what breaks my heart in the first place. That's what breaks my heart with a lot of worship leaders. That's what breaks my heart with a lot of preachers and pastors. That's what breaks my heart with a lot of people who do graphics, with a lot of the clergy. That's what breaks my heart with people who serve in the ministry in some capacity, or they serve God's people. They're serving God's people. They're doing something in the ministry every Sunday or every week, and they don't have a relationship with God. And so God is blessing everybody through their hands and their feet, and they are not being fulfilled while they are being a blessing to everybody else. It's not because God won't use you if you put yourself in a position to be used, but God is not filling you. He's not filling you if you are closed up. Their hearts have not been open to God. Yeah, you preach the power, but you don't believe the power. I'm gonna move on. because I'm stepping on people's toes today. So today, listen, if you are stuck in the trap of scarcity or abundance, I want you to remember that is on God. When you seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, all those things will be added to you. You do not have to live with the mindset of scarcity or abundance, both of which does not lead to goodness, both of which does not actually help you in the long run. But living your life according to the purpose that God has given you is exactly what you want to do. And when you live your life according to the purpose that God has given you, God will give you the resources in order to live out that purpose. Maybe it won't look like the way that you expect, and you may not even receive those resources in the way that you expect. But I can promise you, if it is God's will, it's God's bill. So lean on God, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. And when you start using what God gave you to carry out his purpose, God will simply give you more. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't go out and make it on your own. And I don't want to preach that. This isn't prosperity gospel, but there is some truth to prosperity gospel. You can use your own talent and your ambition and your skills and your will in order to accumulate resources. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But one of the reasons why it's hard for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven is because we tend to accumulate resources for our own self, for our own desires. And so it becomes less about God and more about how much more can we get? How much more can we have? How much more can we bury and accumulate? I just want to make money, make money, make money. Okay. And then you spend money on what? Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna let that alone. But living according to God's purpose will get you out of the mindset of scarcity, out of the mindset of abundance, and in the mindset of purpose. And you will find your needs taken care of. And I can speak with you with absolute surety because I've tried it in my own life. I don't just have biblical examples. I have experience living according to God's purpose and watching the hand of God provide everything that you need. Not everything that you want, all the time at least, but everything that you need in order to live a life of purpose through God, one that pleases God and one that exalts his kingdom. So I want to challenge you to come out of both of those buckets and maybe even leave a comment. Which bucket are you in? Do you live from a place of scarcity or do you live from a place of abundance? Comment in the comment section below. Be sure to like this, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. This has been the last episode of the That's on God series. We've got another series coming up for you next month, and I'm excited to talk to you about that. But remember, it's on God. Your problem with lack, your problem with anxiety, your problem with the pressure, I can promise you that is on God. When you are seeking first his kingdom and all of his righteousness, that's on God. He'll take care of the rest. I hope that you enjoy this. And if you have, be sure to let me know about it by liking or subscribing. And I will see you next month for our new series, Mixtape Theology. You won't want to miss this.